first, Connor, I want to, just ask you to talk a little bit about where this climate movement, kind of came from, this recent one that we're in, talking a little bit about the history of the movement.
I think it's important to say that this movement didn't come out of nowhere. I think, it makes a lot of sense, really, when you look at this kind of increasingly clear threat of the climate crisis that people have been growing up surrounded by. And I'm sure people watching will remember the bombshell report by the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which reported at the end of 2018 now that there were 12 years left to radically change the way society works in order to halt the climate catastrophe. And that report called for urgent and unprecedented change. Of course, that 12 years has since become 11, 10, now we're approaching 9. And we've seen essentially no serious action to meet the kind of change that's needed. And I think that that's had a big impact on the mindset of young people fighting for the climate. But also, I think it's part of a broader growing consciousness among young people that this system isn't working, just generally. Many of us in the climate movement, for our whole lives, all we've known is, a system of crisis, of austerity, instability. So I think it's no wonder that the dots are being connected, that people knew that this isn't just about individual changes in the current system. No, clearly the whole system needs to go. Of course, at the start of the movement, it wasn't necessarily as clear-cut. There were influences from the previous environmental movements. There were more calls to recycle or to cycle more, as if that would solve the crisis. But those voices have quickly been drowned out. Every new climate strike you go on, you'd see that these ideas were less and less present. In fact, we saw the opposite. There's this continued linking of the struggles together. And you could see how climate, class and capitalism were linked, but also racism, women's oppression, and so on. And the call became one for climate justice, which I think is very positive. And there's also progress in the methods, taking up this idea of the strike. That's an essential part of the climate strikes, obviously. And we've seen that in other movements as well, like women's strikes in recent years. And it points, I think, to an understanding of the need to act collectively on a mass scale to win change, not just acting individually among these kind of layers. And I think that's incredibly important and something we haven't seen previously.